Glad to have you with us on Christian Country Mornings, where we talk faith, family, and daily life. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church. Along with me is Steve Sargent from the Hiawatha Church of God in Christ. So glad to have you here, Steve.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, big news. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. We're in the last 2 weeks of Christian Country Mornings. So I got the call this week. They said, finish out the month, and then you guys are done. Because we've been an entity that it started way back 10 years ago. We've been on a 10-year run now.
Wow.
Where Roger McCoy wanted to help do community stuff, so we kind of went and worked with them, with the radio station. So they didn't pay me, I didn't pay them. That was always the arrangement. So I guess they don't like that arrangement as much anymore. But listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to a podcast. So Steve, you're still going to be with me on the podcast. You're already there. You're already signed in.
Thank you.
Right. You're already there saying, I'm doing it, right?
I'll have my agent contact you.
Yeah, do that. Have your people call my people. We'll do it. We'll go that way. But, nothing stays the same forever. And as Billy Joel sang, so many people in and out of your life, some will last and some will just be now and then. So I have no complaints. I appreciate working with the Bull for 10 years.
Yes.
I appreciate their willingness to do something to help the community and put a message out there. And now we're going to move towards podcast. We're just going to podcast it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be called Way to Go, at least for now, until we come up with something else we want to call it. And whatever we feel like doing. See, that's a nice thing. Whatever you feel like doing, you can do.
That's great.
Right? So I ordered a board, man. I ordered a board. I ordered mics so that we can do it. We do it right.
Right.
So we're going to have our own mics, our own board, which I know nothing about, but this is how I learn stuff. I'm one of those people that my idea of getting things done is just throw the ball up in the air and go catch it. Because you can't let it hit the ground. So, you know what? Just throw it up in the air, run under it, and go get it. So that's going to be our introduction to the podcast world.
Well, that's good. I think it's going to be a great experience, too.
We're going to jump into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We're just going to do it. And so we'll let you know, and it's on the Facebook page, which that has changed. I can't even give the Facebook address because I changed it from Christian Country Mornings to Way to Go Podcast. So look up Way to Go Podcast. You'll find it. So you'll see it. And if you already follow Christian Country Mornings on Facebook, I'm sure if you punch it in, I would think it would go there. I don't know. But then when they give you 2 weeks notice, you're scrambling. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm scrambling. I'm contacting a buddy of mine. Hey, what equipment do we need? So on and so forth. But it's okay. Because change is part of life. I think it's part of the journey. And while we finish this chapter, we start in another chapter. I think about Jesus Christ. He went through a lot of changes. He went from heaven to Bethlehem. That was a huge change. Going from, not that he was never not God, but he took on humanity. That was a big change.
That was a very big change.
Right.
And a challenge. He, of course, in heaven is God and sees us as we are and knows every little intricate detail. But then to walk in it yourself, it's always a different perspective.
Right. All right, you've been through changes in your life, I'm sure.
Yes.
So think about a time in your life where there was some kind of change that you made that was good, that it was a positive. I can think of several. One was when a friend of mine, we used to always pick together. So we go yard sailing together all the time. He got married and he moved an hour and a half away. And so then I didn't even know, going out to yard sales without always being able to ask him, hey, should I buy this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Long story short, the reason I became a good picker was because of that change.
Yeah.
That change forced me to figure stuff out on my own. I couldn't always rely on him as a crutch, and it made me actually stronger. And so sometimes you go through changes where you don't like it at first. You're like, oh, man, that's a bummer. But it makes you stronger in other areas.
That's right. We've all experienced those things in life, and I kind of get used to some of the routines that I've done. Oh, I think we all do.
Right.
But then you suddenly have to change, like when we repair roads. The regular route is closed. You got to take a detour. Oh, we fuss and we complain. Now, we all want the new road or the new bridge.
Right.
But none of us want to go through any changes for it to happen. Like, we expect to go to sleep and wake up and bam, there it is, all brand new.
Well, kind of like the snow
that
we had just a few days ago from this broadcast. Woo! I wake up and, hey, there's 2 to 3 inches of snow out there. What do you know? So I actually went running in it. It was so beautiful. I could not go out in it.
Yeah.
When I see snow like that and it's April and it shouldn't be here and it's sticking to the trees like a sugar coating, I just have to do it. Another one, I think, even when Roger McCoy, who started Christian Country Mornings 10 years ago and invited me, so he was the host and I was a co-host. When he left, they said, well, we're going to make it Bill McMinn and Friends. So whoever you want it to be, that's who it's going to be. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's how we rolled. But I never had a host. I never had to like do the lead-ins. I never had to do the outs, any of that kind of stuff. I never did it. But I had to become stronger. I had to learn to do it till the point it got more fluid, and kind of how to keep your segments maybe a little more condensed and things like that. And just we learned over the years. Hopefully, I mean, you the listener will have to tell us if we learned or not. But we think we learned anyway.
That's a good thing. Change isn't always bad, and it's just a part of our growth and development. And a lot of times, if we're not pushed out of our comfort zone, we'll never discover the real abilities and talents that we have.
Right. No, absolutely. So change is not always a bad thing. Again, Christ went through a lot of changes, and when he came to earth, that was a big change in and of itself. We've all been through changes. We all don't like changes. You're probably not going to like the change. If you really favor the show and you like listening to it, for you to come find it on a podcast now, which is what we're going to ask you to do, you still follow us. We're still going to do this show.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not going to have the same songs in it. What we'll do is we'll just do one continuous, let's say 30-minute, 35-minute show on a topic, whether that topic is marriage, it's like we're doing today, a show on change and making changes, or closed doors, things like that. How do you handle it? Whatever the topic is for that day, we'll just cover it. We'll put it on a podcast. Once you get used to it, you can play that stuff on any device. You can be out in your barn listening to it. You can be driving down the road listening to it. You can be running listening to it, whatever you want to do. You've been listening to Christian Country Mornings. You can find us and like us on Facebook. And now you're going to have to look up Way to Go Podcast, because that's where we are at. So thank you for tuning into the segment, and we will be right back. Glad you're listening to Christian Country Mornings, where we are recharging your batteries today. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church. Along with me is Steve Sargent from the Hiawatha Church of God in Christ.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. Always honored to be here. Always.
I appreciate it. Hey, next to last show on the Bull. So, hopefully you've appreciated, you and the audience over the last 10 years. It's been a good run. We appreciate 98.3 having the show and having it be part of their regular schedule for Sunday morning, 7 to 9 for 10 years, a long time, man. It's a decade.
That is. It's a very long time.
So, I think about it. I'm like, wow, because even Roger started it, left in after 3 years. And so the last 7 years, it's kind of been me and friends. And then you and I met a few years ago, and then you've become a big part of the show. So, yeah, it's been great. But we're going to continue on. We're not going to stop doing it. Like the same thing we're doing right now, we're going to do it. It's just going to be on a podcast instead of a radio station.
Yes.
So Way to Go is the name of the podcast. And we'll give you the address for it. Just look up Way to Go on Facebook. Way to Go Podcast, and you'll find it. You'll see Steve, they'll see your picture, and they'll see my picture. If you see our picture and the profile picture, that's it. And then faith, family, and daily life is what we're always talking about. But, changes from God a lot of times, and he reshuffles the deck for his own purpose and for whatever he has going, whatever he intends. And it's not, I know we don't like change, but sometimes we need change.
That's right. I have had, I've visited a couple of military bases in the United States, and one in particular I was at, and one of the people that were taking me on a tour explained to me how they change the people in charge, because they never want anybody to get used to it.
Right.
They want to keep you sharp. So you're only going to stay wherever they assign you. Like if you're a sergeant, lieutenant, whatever, you're only going to stay there for a certain length of time, and you're gone.
Right.
I don't care how good you are. If you led them through war or battle, you're only going to stay there for so long, and they're going to reassign you. That's just a part of the process.
Right.
Because they've learned if people stay in a place too long, they become more comfortable, and they don't look at details and things like they used to. So they keep them sharp, and they keep moving them around.
No, it's not a bad thing, right? So they know what they're doing. And sometimes God moves us around.
Absolutely.
I've seen it at times, too, where people, being a pastor, so speaking from a pastoral perspective, sometimes people leave a church. A lot of times, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. But I've also seen that when one person kind of vacates a space, that God puts other people in those spaces who are also, just like the person who left, they're also very talented. And also, I've seen God bless that way. But in Proverbs 16:9, it says, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So we plan, we got an idea where we want to go, but sometimes God directs us elsewhere. So what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's important for us that are believers to constantly consult the Lord and ask him. And, like Proverbs said, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he would direct us. So ask him for direction. We have our own desires, dreams, ambitions, and that's perfectly fine. But we do need guidance.
Right.
And we need to know, like, Lord, where would you have me to go? Like, I want to go to Florida, but where would you have me to go?
Right. No, I would agree. I don't, dude, I'll tell you, I'm such a northern boy. I can't imagine even in retirement living south.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I want to be in the north. I want to be in the snow and cold my whole life.
Wow.
I love it. So I like summer too, and I like all seasons.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm just one of those guys. I like it all.
I do.
Like it all. But coronavirus. I mean, one of those things where the human part of Bill McMinn says, let's get back to work. Mm-hmm. We leveled the curve by the end of April. We flattened the curve. That's what the government asked us to do. Mm-hmm. We've done it. Now put us back to work. Mm-hmm. If it is indeed about flattening the curve, we've clearly flattened it. Mm-hmm. So now let us go. Right? That's probably not going to be what they do. From a human perspective, that's Bill McMinn. Let's get back to work. We need to work. From a God perspective, he might have something else that he's working on in our lives. And that's something that I want to be open to.
Yes.
To realize, hey, maybe he wants to work a revival. Maybe he wants to work something in my life and other people's lives, to call on him more, to be closer to him, to have a more Christ-likeness, perhaps. There's something he's developing in us, and you can't lose sight of it. The human part of Bill McMinn can easily lose sight of what God's doing.
Yes, I get it. Because the human side of Steve Sargent is the same way.
Right.
I wanna go home and watch the baseball game. And I don't want to see reruns.
Right.
I want to watch the game now.
Right.
I want to hear all of the details of what's going on. Football season is coming up. They'll be going through the draft, I think, next week. And, we want to go through all that. That's our routine that we've lived in forever.
My goodness. Dude, I've almost forgotten about the draft. There's been so much with the virus going on. You almost forget that's a part of my life that I always get excited about. Yeah. Who are the Browns going to pick? I'm a big Eagles fan. Mm-hmm. Who are the Eagles going to pick? Yep. I'm always hoping the Dallas Cowboys blow it because I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. But and I'll pay attention to the Steelers too because I'm a Pennsylvania boy, so I grew up rooting for the Steelers and the Eagles. You could do both. So I came to Ohio. I never really got the rivalry because where I grew up, there is no rivalry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't sense it because you're from Eastern PA, not Western PA. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think changes even in the radio show. I feel like, okay, well, yeah, that door's closing, but another's opening. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm kind of interested to see, hey, what can we do here in the podcast world? We already know that the show, just on YouTube, like us recording the show, gets dozens and dozens of views. Just here. I mean, one of our shows had over 200 views.
That's great.
Just the show, just the video part of it
had
that many views. And we figure as we keep promoting that, it could go even higher.
Oh, yeah. Well, one thing I've learned when you're talking about change, when we would go to the prison and we volunteer to teach in their reentry classes, we would talk to them about things to expect when you leave, how to do your resume, we would do mock interviews with them and things of that nature. And one of the things we taught them when they were putting together a resume is to remember you have tons of skills. Don't look at it like maybe you've had 3 jobs and you know how to do A, B, and C. You really know how to do a whole lot more than that because those skills are transferable.
Right.
And the prime example was a lady who had spent her life in the automobile industry. She was like a painter for the cars that they come across the assembly line.
Right.
And they shut down. She got laid off or whatever. And she had to be retrained to go into the workforce. She'd done it for pretty much her whole career. Opportunity came up at a bakery where she was asked to, like decorate cakes and so on. And she's like, I've never decorated cakes. She's been working painting cars and stuff. But she said, how when you paint the car and how you got to make sure whatever is even and everything, it's a similar thing when you're doing the cake.
Right.
She never thought about it like that. She used that skill as a painter and transferred it to being in the bakery.
Right.
We have skills like that.
Right. That God will use in other places.
Yes.
And I think we just have to be open to whatever it is that he's doing. But we do want to say, as we close out this segment, that for all of our loyal listeners, we very much value you. Very much value your faithfulness, that you tune it in, whether it was on the way to church or you get up in the morning and you tune it in, you're out in the barn and you tune it in, you're at an Aldi's or a Circle K or wherever you are. We appreciate it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you very much.
Yep. You're listening to 98.3 The Bull. Glad to have you on Christian Country Mornings, your spiritual espresso caffeine kick for the week. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, along with me is Steve Sargent from the Hiawatha Church of God in Christ. And we are talking change today, and one of the big changes in the last 2 weeks of Christian Country Mornings, so we're finishing out the month. Then we're going to podcast.
Yes.
Way to go is what we're calling it right now. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I think it's great because that's sort of indicative of what we're launching.
Right.
This is our way to go.
It's a way to go. Right, it's the way to go. And I think too, I always like to be an encourager. Hey man, way to go, that way. But there's also, no, this is the way to go, seriously. In marriage, here's the way to go. And raising kids and living the Christian life and dealing with change and whatever it is. So I think it fits for now. So we'll see if the Lord puts something else on our heart. We can go for it that way. But one passage is Ecclesiastes 3. And this is a segments on a time and place. There's a time and place for everything. And it talks in there about there's a season for every activity under the heavens.
Yes.
Time to be born and time to die. Time to uproot, time to plant. Time to kill, time to heal, time to tear down, time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, a time to give up. A time to keep, a time to throw away. A time to tear, a time to mend. A time to be silent, a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. And sometimes there's a time for goodbye.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Was it the Beatles who wrote that song? For everything, there's a season.
Oh, yeah. Turn. Well, I don't know if it was them or not.
To
everything.
Yeah, wasn't it the Beatles?
Turn.
I think it
Something
was.
That wasn't the right tune. But
a time to be born, a time to die. I think it was them.
I don't know. We're going to have to Siri it, but we can't do it on the show right now. Between segments, we'll look it up. We'll let you know. It wasn't a Christian. It wasn't a country music song.
No,
I can tell you that.
But
I do remember hearing as a kid, growing up and listening. That's how
I remember it from a commercial. You know how they have commercials where you can buy whatever albums and stuff, or their greatest hits, and that was one of them when I was a kid.
It was a classic.
Yes, it
absolutely,
was.
Yeah. To everything, there's a season. And there is a time for goodbye. There is a time to give up. There's a time to cut bait. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I was out fishing with my daughters, first time in a long time, and my son-in-law, and they just got into it. Like all of a sudden, my daughter's into it. My son-in-law, they're into it. Even if they don't catch anything, they're just into going. And so, but I had a tangle, and there are sometimes you're not going to get it out. You might as well stop fooling around with it, cut the line, retie it, because it's going to be way faster to retie that line than it is to cut through that tangle.
That's right.
Now, sometimes if you're mending a relationship, maybe stop trying to figure everything out that went kaflooey in it, and just retie on. Just cut that part out and retie. You might have to do that. Other times, maybe you're just cutting and leaving. You're walking from it too. But
that's right.
I think that's however God leads, really.
That is. And, God does work in ways like that in our lives. Sometimes we question, like, why? Why does this have to end, or why do I have to go through this? And I saw a sign once I was coming home from Trumbull County, and I was driving on 45, and one of the guys that I mentored had died tragically in an accident. It was very, very tragic. I was extremely distraught over the whole incident, and I questioned within myself, like, why, God, why would this is a good guy here.
Right.
Why did he have to die? He was just getting started. And I saw a sign that said, it was in front of a church, why do we put a question mark where God has placed a period?
Right. That's a great point. I mean, why put a question mark where God put the period, right? So where God says that's it, it's still sad. I think there's a part in our heart. And by the way, it was the Byrds who sang that song.
The Byrds?
The Byrds.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Our Mark, who's producing the show, he's up there listening to us. He sent it down. He texted me. He's up at the crow's nest. He texted me down on the stage and let me know it was the Byrds. I do want to say, I think we would be remiss, by the way, if we did not say in the show how much we appreciate Jordan Matthews.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, Jordan has been there and has had to listen to everything that we've ever done and then produce it and make sure it sounds right. And he's put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
I think he'll miss it. I do.
Yeah, and he's a Cowboys fan, right?
Oh, he's a Cowboys fan, absolutely. That's why I mentioned the Cowboys today. Because he probably won't even hear it and he won't even know it because he's not in here sitting in the room.
Right.
So guess what, Jordan? Now I'm having my own podcast. I can have a whole show about just nothing but I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. And let me tell you why. You know what I'm saying? I can just I'm not going to actually, but I mean, we can do whatever we want. That's a nice thing.
That's right.
Because the only filter now is us. So we don't have our producer no, maybe you shouldn't be saying that. So he's not there, but we will miss him.
Yes, we've had great times with him, and I really appreciate him. He always accommodated us.
Right.
And I appreciate it. He works very hard, and he really loves what he does. I appreciate that.
No, he does, absolutely. So that'll be the one thing that kind of rots, as we go along. It's man, no Jordan there. So that'll be kind of bummer. But that's, again, it's changed. Like I told him, I says, not that I'm going to give up on you or not contact you. I mean, I says, you're still going to hear from me and stuff like that. So, but anyway, a time for silence and a time to speak, I think, is part of it. And I think there are days where I think one of the things that I struggle with sometimes is knowing when it's time to give up on a relationship, or not marriage. Obviously, I'd hope I never have that decision to make. But just think about other things that go on in life, because it says in the Bible that two can walk together, or how can they walk together unless they're agreed? And sometimes you feel like, well, wow, maybe we're not on the same path anymore. Maybe we're just going in different directions, and that's okay too. And I've seen it happen over the years where it's just like, yeah, we were kind of like shoulder to shoulder going the same way. Now it feels like we're not. How much do you work to bring that back? When do you say goodbye? Because we don't like change.
That's right. We don't like change.
Right. So, I mean, I think that's been one of the hard things, too. So, you at times, too, I've seen people where they'll, and I'll say this, and then when the segment is, I've seen people hang with relationships because they're in love with an ideal of what the person is at their best moment instead of the reality of what really is going on. I think sometimes, either way, you don't want to face what really happens or what's really going on. You just don't want to admit that, maybe there's a bigger problem here than what I realize, because we have an ideal of what a person is on their best day,
right,
rather than the reality. And sometimes that reality needs to be challenged. That reality needs to be knocked off center so that person can see, hey, you kind of drifted. Your anchor's been up. You're not anchored in the word like you used to be. You're kind of drifting off. And sometimes I think all those things are hard and very difficult. So I admit in my own life, change can be hard. Yeah. And we're about to go through a change. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your loyalty over the years. You are listening to 98.3 The Bull. Glad to have you with us on Christian Country Mornings, your guides on the river of life. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, and along with me is Steve Sargent from How About the Church of God in Christ. Now, we're actually recording the show. We're doing a video of it, and you can go to YouTube. Eagleville Bible Church, just punch it in YouTube. You can actually watch it. Like your friends, your family who loves you, Steve, like they could actually watch you do the show. If they love you that much, they could actually go to YouTube, just punch in Eagleville Bible Church, and they would see the show because it's going to be up there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Actually, you not only listen to it, you can actually watch it if you so desire, or just set it up and listen to it. We are going to eventually be podcasting because this is the second to last show on Christian Country Mornings, because they just came to a time where I guess they decided this is the time to say
goodbye.
Goodbye. It's time. You know what, guys? We just wanted to say something to you. Goodbye. Thanks for your 10 years. But it's been 10 years. 10 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the Bull. We appreciate their direction, and from the 10 years ago, wanting to do something to help their community, and asking us to be a part of it. So we never exchanged money either way.
That's good.
Right? We didn't pay to be on there. We did it for our community, and they didn't pay us to do it. We were kind of like the Sunday morning DJs, if you want to put it that way, a little bit. And here we are. So now we're going to go to podcasts.
Have you ever watched Sanford and Son?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, grew up watching it. Yeah.
Fred got hurt once, so they hired a maid to help out while Lamont was working. And long story short, Fred wanted to get rid of her and everything. So Lamont comes back. Fred said she's got to go. Her name was Mary. He said, Mary's got to go. So how are we going to get rid of her? We just tell her she's fired. He said, you just can't tell her she's fired. You got to beat around the bush or something. Talk about the weather. So they called her out and they said, hey, Mary, if it rains tomorrow, you don't have to come to work. She said, oh, that's all right. I've got an umbrella. And Fred said, what I'm saying is, even if it doesn't rain, you don't have to come to work. So yeah, they have a way of letting you know, even if it doesn't rain.
That's right. It doesn't really matter. But I just told my staff, ironically, before I got the call, I said, hey, listen, I think there is going to come a time when we need to be ready to move to podcasts and just be ready to do it and to make that jump. And so it was a bit of a scramble this week. I'm trying to find a board and mics and, try to figure it all out. I called Roger McCoy, who I've known for a long time. And 10 years, right? So since we got to be friends doing the radio show, like you and I have gotten to be friends doing this radio show. Right. And he told me, hey, you need this, and here's how to do it. Here's where to put the podcast, so on and so forth. So you just have to go to Way to Go podcast on Facebook, and then we'll put the links up to the show and all that kind of stuff. And we'll try to keep, you can still follow and go from this to us. And we'll put it on. Once it's on, you can listen to it any time of the week you want. You can still listen to Bull Sunday morning. You can listen to us any other time, or you can listen to us Sunday morning, whatever you want to do. But it's going to be available. But one of the things that is good for us to know, and all the changes that we go through, is that God doesn't change. Right? And it says in James 1:17, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change, like shifting shadows.
Yeah, that's right. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So even though we go through changes and we are put in positions where we need to change, he's constant. And he's constantly looking for us to change in growth and development, to be more like him.
Right.
He's always willing to help us get there.
Right.
And he puts us through things to help us get there.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like coronavirus.
Absolutely.
Like all the change we're going through. It's taken me, honestly, probably the first 3 weeks of the stay at home. I think I was pretty exhausted. This is the first time, I think this week, I'm starting to feel normal again.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's taken me that long to adjust to the changes. And it seemed to me like not being around as many people was actually more exhausting than being around people. Yeah. And now I'm adjusting to it. I'm getting back to running in the mornings, getting back more into a routine, hitting it, feeling energetic, kind of that let's go mentality. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah. The typical, mentality that I would have. I do. I feel like I'm back to myself at this point.
Yeah, I still miss not being around people as much. Of course, I work with people, so I am around some. But, the regular breakfast meetings and lunch meetings and all those things that I do all the time. Now you're sort of handcuffed because we can't do them.
Right.
And we're doing, I had like 4 Zoom meetings yesterday.
I haven't even done one yet.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I could probably produce, have my own. This is Steve Sargent on a Zoom show, my own show called Zooms Are Us.
Can I co-host with you?
Yeah, come on. I'll have you as a co-host. I just miss the human.
Right.
You understand what I mean, the human interaction, because I'm in it a lot.
I do, because it energizes me. Sometimes if I'm around like a lot of people and I hear a lot of stuff at one time, because I'm not a detail person, I'm a big picture person, a let's go, rah-rah. Not that I can't handle details in organization. I feel like I'm pretty organized and think I can go from A to Z. It's not a big problem. But man, when I hear a lot of information, it bogs me down. Yeah. However, I still feel like I get energy from being around people too. Like I draw energy from them. Me too. Being by myself has been a whole thing. But God's still there, and he says, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. The Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Then in verse 8 of Hebrews 13, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And I love that part where he's saying that. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to forsake you. I never change. I'm your helper. He said he promises to be with us to the very end of the age, and that includes all things that we go through. And no matter what happens with this virus, it's not affecting Jesus.
That's right.
It's not affecting God. He's still going to be here. He's still helping us. And I find great comfort in that. You've been listening to 983 The Bull. And once again, we appreciate your listenership and your faithful loyalty over the years. Christian Country Mornings has returned, handing out your spiritual chewables. Chew on this. Okay. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, Steve Sargent from Hiawatha Church of God in Christ. And it's taken me years to figure, just get that down, man. Just to get that long church name down. We're here. But we're talking about changing, and I think that sometimes when we go through changes, you got to learn what you can. I know there have been times in my life where I've been critiqued hard, and maybe it was a nasty email or somebody sent me, and it was hard to take. But once I get over it, it usually takes me about a day till I'm like, oh well. But I still try to learn from it. Yeah. I still try to take. Some of it's pure nonsense, of course, and it's fiction. But there are other parts, well, maybe I did come across that way. Maybe that is how it was. Maybe I do need to learn. I'm always trying to get better. That's good. All the time. So I'll learn. I try to learn from any situation. So if you go through a situation of change, and even if it's a breakup in a friendship, a relationship, you lost a job, you got to ask yourself, what can I learn about this from next time? Because as hard as it is, I don't want to go through it again. And if you don't learn lessons from your mistakes, you probably are going to go through it again. So.
Yeah, you're right. We have to be willing to grow and keep progressing. It's the same way in sports. We've seen phenomenal athletes, who have some God-given talent you could never coach or teach.
Right.
But they do need a coach.
Right.
No, they have to be coached. They work to get better.
Right.
I think they're the fastest in the world or can jump the highest, but they still have to work at it.
You know, I remember there was a day when Jerry Rice was playing in the league and Carl Pickens was playing in the leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Pickens, Bengals, very talented wide receiver. Jerry Rice needs no introduction or explanation.
Right.
That guy, phenomenal, unbelievable talent. And Jerry Rice worked all the time. Jerry Rice practiced hard all the time. And I remember Carl Pickens saying stuff about, I never do that, you know, these kind of workouts and that and the other. And I remember there was some article that came out about him, and I thought as soon as I heard it, you'll never be Jerry Rice.
Right.
You'll never be him, because you can't take it kind of like, well, put the least amount of effort into it and expect true greatness. Even the Jerry Rices of the world. And by the way, that guy was great. You know what his family did when he was growing up?
What's that?
Masons. He caught bricks all the time. Yeah, he would be up there, and his family would be throwing him bricks all the time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Think about that. He's catching bricks all the time. Yeah, he was a heck of a receiver. Yeah, well, how he grew up, they were throwing stuff to him all the time. So yeah, I mean, so you think about his work ethic was beyond question, and I think that's one of the reasons he was so enduring, so legendary, so phenomenal. Not the fastest guy,
Right.
Not by a long stretch was he the fastest person, but man, he could put a move on you and score 5 touchdowns on you in one game.
Sure
I mean,
could.
between him and Joe Montana and him and
know.
Steve Young, it was pretty unbelievable.
I know.
So, yeah, I look at that kind of stuff, and the work, I mean, learning what you can and trying to get better, I think is where that story was coming from. The people who really strive to do better get better.
That's right. And keep working at it.
Right.
And that's what we all should be doing, whatever our calling is on earth. How can I do this better? How
Right.
can I be more efficient and
Right.
things of that nature? Because we don't, I mean, even if you're going to retire, you should retire on top.
Right.
Not like just as riding the waves in the shore. It should be still working to achieve your objective.
Well, you look at, we're 2 old dogs, we're going to learn how to podcast.
Right.
It's true. I mean, compared to a 20-some-year-old
Oh, yeah,
person,
that's
you know,
like
I'm not
second
saying
nature.
we're not ancient, but I mean,
second nature to most of them.
right, compared to them, yeah, I mean, it's going to be old dog, new tricks for sure. But I'm always willing to learn and try to do better. There's stuff sometimes people point out, you know, you could try this, that. Now, when it comes to a camera, that I understand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've had it in my hand a lot of times. I use it. That's a tool I used a lot. So I understand cameras, understand how they work. You can put it on manual, and I'm going to figure it out with that light meter in a big, fast hurry. You know what I'm saying? So, assuming I know, you know, where those buttons are.
Right.
I'm going to be able to switch it around and dial in the aperture, shutter speeds, and all that. And I'm going to know how to get a nice picture. But other stuff that I'm not familiar with, I have to become familiar, and that's okay. I mean, that's how you deal with change. But anyway, Proverbs 18, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge. The ears of the wise seek it out. That's a wise person, right? They want to acquire knowledge. Then it says, in lawsuits, the first to speak seems right until someone comes forward to cross-examine.
Yes.
And the Bible says, yeah, one story sounds great until you hear the other side. You never want to hear. You want to be a smart person, never listen to just one side of the story. Then in verse 19, a brother wronged is more unyielding than the fortified cities, and disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. And when you go through acquiring knowledge, listening to both sides, and just understanding you wrong someone, sometimes that person is tough to win back. I mean, really tough.
Yep, that's true. Some people don't get over it.
Right.
You know, it's unfortunate, but some people do not get over it. One of the things I've tried not to do in my life, and I've not been perfect, one thing I really, really despise within myself is holding grudges. I just, honest to God, it's one of my things that just bothers me the most. Even if I was wronged, I don't want to hold a grudge. I don't want to hold a grudge. I don't want.
But do you want to be close to the person as you were at one
No,
time?
not necessarily, depending upon what it was in the situation. But I don't want to. I want to be able to look at that person, you know, shake their hand or say hello or ask them how they were doing, and not like I want to talk to them, or if they were stranded somewhere, not try to assist them. I would still want to treat them like I would treat anybody else when it comes down to the basics. Now, they may not be in your favorite 5 anymore,
Right.
But still, I don't want to go to bed at night hating that person or despising them for whatever happened. You got to learn to move on.
Yeah, I don't feel like in my heart like I can count on one hand people I've really not liked in my whole life. And I think considering the size of the church, how many people I've met, I think that's a significant. I tend to like most people, even people that have wronged me. It's not that hard. Like I don't stay awake thinking about it unless we were close. If we were close,
Yeah, that's different.
I'm probably going to think about it a bit more. And then that's when this verse, because this verse, I remember as a teenager thinking about it. You know, a brother offended is harder to win than a strong city. It's like you offend someone and you do a good job putting them off, you're going to have a tough time winning them back. It's better not to put them off in the first place.
That's right.
It's better not to put, especially when they're telling you, it's kind of like the dog growled at you a little bit, growled at you a little bit, growled at you a little bit, and you just kept boinking it in the head anyway. And finally, you know what I mean? Let you have it. And it's like, it was warning you the whole way. This is what's going to happen. You keep doing this. It's not going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Because once you push things to a certain thing, you can break it. Yeah. People break.
That's
Relationships break. It's
Everybody has a breaking point.
Yeah, be careful. Anyway, we're in the last 2 weeks of Christian Country Mornings. We're going to go do a podcast. And for you who have been listening to us, whether you've been listening for a month, maybe this is your first week, or you've been listening for the last 10 years, we appreciate you listening in. This is 98.3, The Bull. Welcome back to Christian Country Mornings, where we talk faith, family, and daily life. I'm Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church. Steve Sargent from Hiawatha Church of God in Christ with me. And as we try to comment on every segment, next to last week for Christian Country Mornings, we're going to miss our producer, Jordan.
That's right.
That Paula, too. I always love that Paula. She works there. I always love her. She says it. Hey, preacher man. Every time. I just want to see her. I just want to see her so I can hear her say it. No one, I don't even get called pastor, but once, like, it seems to me I don't even care. Bill's great. But no one calls me preacher man except her. And she got that draw. I love it. I just love hearing her say it. Yeah. So I always want to see her whenever I go in just so I can hear her say, hey, preacher man. So I'm going to I'll miss Jordan. I'll miss that for sure. But we're doing a podcast. We're not going to quit doing the show. We're going to continue on with it.
Yes.
It's just instead of finding it on the Bull, you're going to find it on YouTube and you're going to find it on, Podbean, actually. Waytogo.podbean.com. That's waytogo.podbean.com.
Okay.
That's going to be where they find the shows. We haven't done a podcast yet, so don't look for it yet. But that's just so you know what it is. But anyway, you know, I would say that when you're going through changes, one piece of advice I would give you is don't burn bridges. Like, it would not be good if we were griping about not being on the Bull. Like, that would not be good. What if they want us to come back someday and say in a year from now, hey, we were thinking about this and that, come back and do an hour show, this and that. I'm not going to burn bridges with those people. I don't believe in burning bridges with people in general. I believe in treating people like I might actually see them again.
That's right. The bridges, you never know, you may have to go across them again. That's
right.
I've heard somebody say once that be careful of the people you step on your way up to the top because you might pass by them on your way down.
There's a lot of truth. Man, have you ever had people burn bridges with you and you're thinking, this is just not... Okay, obviously you plan on never seeing me again. The way you're treating me right now, especially when there's no ever an apology for it, there's never any, hey, I shouldn't have said it. That was rough. That was a rotten thing I did to you. And, and especially when you're not even willing to apologize and years have gone by, you obviously plan on never seeing that person again. Yeah. And never talking. You treat somebody like that, it's not even about holding grudges. You know what I'm saying? It's just about... I don't trust you.
Right.
Like I have no interest in any kind of relationship where you could do that. You know, like you are not going to do. I'm not going to put you in any place near me where you can do that again. Right. So you burn bridges. Like I don't believe in it. I believe, man, you better be careful how you treat people.
My mom was the queen of expressions, and she said that you're going to need your tail to fan away the flies more than once. More than once. So you better treat your tail right? Because you're going to need it again, huh? So
I don't even want to like visualize that whole thing. You know, like I don't even think about, is the person my tail? Is that what we're saying? I'm going to do that. Like, is that like we're saying? So yeah, I mean, you got to act like, you know, what if you want to come back? And here's another piece of advice I would give you. You know, when you're going through changes, think long and hard before you quit on somebody, or even if you act like you might, and you're kind of vacating a position that you really want, but you're acting like you don't want it, man, some doors you shut for whatever reason. It's not even that people don't want it to reopen. It's just some doors, for a lot of reasons, just don't reopen.
That's right.
And so now you're kind of like at the end of the line, so to speak. It was like us being at Lowe's and they have a big long line. Well, I don't know where my posts are. I'm going to put in raised beds. So we're in the store. And then we have to go out to the garden store. When we come back, we're at the end of the line again. Well, we went out that door and we didn't have those posts. So guess what? I had to come back and I had to be at the back of the line again. Wow. So I'd already been in there. You know what I'm saying? I'd go
You start all over.
start all over again. So sometimes I think that you need to, I don't know how you feel about it. My recommendation would be just think long and hard before you quit. Think long and hard before you take sides in a fight. Think long and hard, because some stuff that gets said, some stuff that gets done doesn't get, even if people move on, it's just, as far as that position goes, that you vacate it, it's just not available anymore.
Right. I worked in the juvenile detention center, so you dealt with a lot of juveniles who were either sentenced or going to be, they're waiting until they get sentenced. And I always try to practice not passing judgment on whatever crime they committed. A lot of times I didn't even know unless they told me. I didn't really know, because I tried to treat them all the same. I don't know. I don't want to look at you and say, well, you committed a very vicious crime and this person is just accused of shoplifting, weighing one and the other, because I'm not the judge nor the jury. I don't get to determine how long someone stays. I don't get to determine their sentence.
Right.
My job there is to, of course, keep them on track and hopefully say or show them something to make them want to do better when they leave.
Right.
So I don't have the power to sentence you or to free you.
Right.
So I tried not to get in a judgmental mode of you should be tarred and feathered, or you should be emancipated.
Even if they should be.
Yeah, even if they should be. It's not my position. And we don't know all the details at what led up to that, what happened, because I'm just, at the jail. I'm not in there hearing all the intricate details and all of the findings and things of that nature. I don't know all of that.
You ever read Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis? He talked about that in one segment, that you doing something good for you might be totally easy. The other person wasn't even as good as you were at it, even in righteousness.
Yes.
Like, they weren't even as close to getting it right as you had it right, but for them, it was 10 times harder to do that little bit than it was for you to do a whole lot of it when it came to doing the right thing. So for you, let's say not to curse might be easy. For that guy not to swear all the time, because the way he grew up and maybe going through abuse and everything else, it was 1,000 times harder for him. So maybe he did swear some, and God might look at him, this is from C.S. Lewis, might look at him, he's better than you.
I get it.
Because that was way harder for him, and he was trying way harder than you were trying.
That's right.
So that's where God knows the everything, then why we can't be making, I'm kind of going along, piggybacking your comment about not being judgmental, because we don't know the whole story. I thought C.S. Lewis did a great way of picking that out. But anyway, I want to end with this verse. Let's say that you're in a situation where something did get busted, there's been a change, there's been a broken relationship, you'd like it back. Here's a verse. You ready for this? It comes from Proverbs 16. I didn't write the verse down, but you'll find it in Proverbs 16. Through love and faithfulness, sin is atoned for. Through the fear of the Lord, evil's avoided. So if you fear God and respect Him, you'll avoid it in the first place. But you want to atone it. I'd say this is true with God. It's true with anyone. It's love and faithfulness.
Yeah.
If you are willing to come back and show love, and you're willing to come back and show faithfulness just consistently, you just keep beating down that door. I'm going to love you. I'm going to be faithful, and this is the only side of me you're going to see. They're going to have a tough time holding you out. They're going to have a tough time keeping their heart closed to you. That's right. Because now I actually want to write about this, because I thought it was such a fantastic verse. And I'm like, through love and faithfulness, sin is atoned for. We appreciate you. We've got one more show to do on the Bull. We appreciate your loyal viewership and you being here with us and listening to the show. We appreciate you more than you know. You have a great week. You've been listening to 983 The Bull.